Welcome to Conversations and Catapults. I'm your host, Nathan, and I'm joined by three people who just died and recently got revived. Say hello, recently dead.
Hi, it's me, Ben.
Ben possessing Carla.
Winsler has not been revived. It's me, Carla, and I'm the actually revived one. And I play the level 8 Tiefling Roguelike from the hit TV show. Oh, wait, from the hit podcast Trials and Trebuchets.
Carla, you can't
Wait,
let
did
him
I
know
say
about
I'm
the
Integrity
TV show
Idleberry?
yet.
I actually don't remember if you said who you played, actually.
Oh, well, okay then.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I got revived. I play Mira. I didn't come back wrong, right? I mean, I'm still my full self. It's just, I'm just really honored to be on a podcast with all of you really smart people. You all have such beautiful minds and such delicious looking brains.
Hello, it is I, a version of Sam, returned from the grave, and I play the level 8 human sorceress Sarah Neb Cinderman, who has also come back from the grave a couple of times at this point.
Yeah, it is weird to think about y'all, like, having been through all of this before, you know, the whole dying thing, and now you're having to help others through it.
I don't think we've died, but like I know I've been like knocked unconscious a couple of times and had to be healed.
We didn't
basically.
die when we fell through the mirror. We just got sent there by accident. It's fine.
Yeah, we didn't die in the bottomless pit. We got out of there safely.
We can actually argue then. Sorry, I was just gonna say that we can actually argue then that dying is not that bad because we died and we are alive again.
Yeah.
We went to hell and we're
Yeah.
fine.
I was very much considering the mirror, like, crossing over to be dying. But apparently if that's
It was
totally
pretty
different,
ambiguous,
then
I think, on the podcast as to whether we actually died or not.
Luke, keeping something ambiguous?
Some people went to the afterlife. A couple of us went to a whole different place and then went to the afterlife.
Yeah, you did have a stopover, but regardless, it is really exciting to have this little trio of episodes be just centered around the lead up, the execution, and the fallout of literally just one activity. Something that the podcast has been building up to for months now, to be fair. Like, getting Artist Artesian back has been something. Is it literally years in the making at this point?
I think it's been about 7 months or something.
Oh, geez, has it really?
It's been
All
something
I know
like
is that
that.
it's older than
Oh, man.
Conversations and Catapults, if I understand correctly.
Yeah. Like maybe March or April.
Yeah, Artist has been
Jeez.
gone. But I think the question looming over everything after having listened to those 3 episodes, and this is a question for all of you, if your character had known things would have turned out this way, would they still have attempted this workaround resurrection?
Yes.
Like, when you say know everything, do you mean like the fact that we also succeeded in bringing back people, or like...
Yeah, but you still have to deal with the fact that you did kill them and they're going to live with that trauma for the rest of their lives.
I think I would have still gone through with it, but maybe been like talked to more people out in the day. Just be like, hey, please come to this thing with us, please. So that way we would have had like a better chance of having it not happen.
I think for me, that's so hard because like right now Integrity's like having difficulty and thinking, did we do something bad? And should we have done it?
Especially because Integrity was putting Alina in a position that Alina was like saying no to. And then Integrity very much did pressure her into doing this thing that got her killed.
Yes. So I feel like I would do it, but with this knowledge, I would be more, it would be more informed. And I guess I wouldn't have pressured Alina as much because Integrity, as much as like pressuring Alina, did not know the gravity of what could happen, or at least like was taking it very lightly because the person who was telling us the consequences was Indamati and who was like, ooh, you die, but not like something super grave and scary. So I think that I still would do it, but I would treat it differently. It would be less light.
Yeah, I feel like we've had a lot of situations where we have done the right thing and we acknowledge that we've done the right thing, but it's still a thing that has caused significant like guilt and harm when it comes to it. And I feel like that's an interesting thing for our characters to have to kind of grapple with, generally speaking, because it was a sort of similar thing with the Ferdinand situation of what else could we have done in that moment? But at the same time, it was still something that caused a lot of harm to another person, even if it was just being complicit in her death. And so I think it's that knowledge of like, yeah, I wouldn't have done anything differently because this is what we had to do. But at the same time, it's still something that caused harm and still something we have to grapple with. I think that's a very interesting dichotomy for all of us.
Agreed. And especially like thinking about saying like, I would go back and do it differently. Like, what if there was no other way to do it differently and have it still work out the way it did?
Yeah.
Like, you know, would you have still knowingly pressured Alina into doing the ritual if she was like necessary for its completion?
Maybe not so much. Maybe I would put more effort into getting more people instead of just like focusing on one person who I guess like is not fit for that kind of experiment. Like maybe someone
Very
who
clearly not fit. Just judging by how she handled it.
Like maybe someone who loves the idea of death and and is like
maybe someone higher level at the very least. You know, someone with a little bit with a few more hit points.
Like just find other necromancers, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I guess their field of study is a lot of dead stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of the field of study of necromancy and the reaction to what you all have done here, how do you plan to approach whatever reprimand is coming y'all's way for this? Like, if you know there's going to be a council meeting, what is your defense going in? Have you all thought about that or no?
I mean, I think the best thing we can say is essentially the truth, right? Of like, hey, listen up. There are a whole bunch of people at this school who have gone missing and who are essentially in a liminal state between life and death, who are conscious and remembering all of it. We put up posters. We informed people of the risk before they came. We had little fine print. We gave people opportunities to opt out at multiple times. We made a golem. The worst thing we did in all of this was steal some supplies from the necromancy department. If you want to ding us for that, fine. But what we essentially did was go through a ritual where everybody had prior consent to bring somebody back who recognizes and appreciates that you guys need to do something about these other pebbles. We did what we could when you did not.
Sarah, a good 90% of that does sound like a frat at a disciplinary hearing. I'm like,
yeah, well,
no, listen, they had... there was written down like what would be involved. We had their enthusiastic verbal consent. They had multiple opportunities to opt out.
Yeah. What do you want me to say?
Hazing doesn't exist, all right?
Yeah. Look, it was a bonding thing, okay? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Mira did come out of that quite closer to someone.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. How do you feel about that now that you've said the L word?
I know. I think it was
Lava?
I think it was the right moment for those two. I think Mira definitely does have this thing of like, wow, it kind of sucks that by virtue of being in closer proximity to me, bad stuff keeps happening to Delnus. And so I think that for Mira, she really needed to hear Delnus say, this is what I want. This is where I want to be. I would take this risk if it means being with you. And I think the comfort of hearing that was definitely a catalyst for Mira being able to say that she loves Delnus.
I was curious about something, Sarah, actually.
Yeah.
Because, like, kind of before this, there was a whole discussion, like, a while ago with Penny about, like, how Delnus was reacting to you putting your life in danger.
Mm-hmm.
And now that it's kind of like the shoe is on the other foot, like, do you think Mira kind of understands that better? And that's another part of why the I love you finally reaches point? Because before this, Mira got into a lot of situations.
Mm-hmm.
And now, Delnus has been in a large situation as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that Mira always understood what Penny was saying to her, which is why during that conversation, she essentially said to Penny, like, yeah, you're right. Like, I agree with you here. I think some of that was also just Mira felt guilty about the way that whole situation went down. And so to have an external voice basically say, yeah, you fucked up is almost welcome in that sense of like, I am wanting to punish myself by having somebody else say this to me and I'm going to agree with them. So I think that Mira was already kind of aware of like, because this was the first time that Delnus actually died. Hopefully the last, but I'm going to say the first. I know how these things go. But, you know, she was also in that chamber with Nesca when Mira lost her arm. She was also, there was the stuff with the Oblex, which wasn't because of Mira, but it happened while Mira was there. And so I think this is something that Mira's been aware of for a while. And so I think that what the big catalyst for this was essentially hearing Delnus's own perspective on what that means for her, if that makes any sense at all.
Oh, yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. How does this reshape Mira's perspective of... Actually, no. Scratch that. I have a better question.
Oh.
How long has Mira been in love with Delnus? Like, this is the moment you're saying it. When do you know there was a moment where Mira first felt it?
Mira has liked Delnus for quite a while. She's had, you know, strong feelings for her quite early on, I think. At the very least, from before she went to Delnus's birthday party. I would say that I would describe those feelings initially as a very strong crush. I would say that those deeper feelings of, like, I really, really want to be with Delnus came when she was in that cabin after the Faint of Heart stuff, because there is this sense now of, like, not only is she being there for me in every way that she can, but she is a person who I want to have with me when things are good and when things are bad. And so I think that there was that. And then I think after everything with Scandal and having Delnus essentially be like, yes, I do want to be with you. This is how I feel about everything. You know, hearing from Delnus's mentor that she feels very strongly about her, keeps talking about her. I think that itself intensified those feelings. So I think that's what made it go from, oh, Delnus is this really cute, smart girl I like, to like, oh, Delnus is a person who we can count on each other for and who I have very deep feelings toward, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense. I just didn't know if there was like a rom-com moment where like Mira looks at Delnus and is like, oh no, I love you.
Oh yeah, it's when Mira and Delnus were on the subway together, and then they were both standing because neither of them knew that you have to grab the subway pole, and then it started going, and it's a sandwich shop, and then she fell forward, and then both of them like landed on each other because the train started moving.
Oh my god.
Did they fall to the ground, or did one catch the other? And was there like a slow-mo?
Well, they met each other's eyes, and they bumped into like one of the side chairs, but there was an empty seat, so they fell down, but they were on like the subway bench, so they were safe, and they were just staring up at each other.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What music was playing?
Yeah.
Background.
Every little thing you do, I do adore.
Oh, that's very good. Was it like, is
Beautiful.
it morning or like nighttime?
It's like evening. It's like after a long work day, because like Delnus is a surgeon, and so she was like work after a days of work doing surgery, and Mira had her like guitar strung over her shoulder.
Oh, is Mira a busker in this?
No, they're on a train, not a bus.
Oh my god. Is this
Fuck
already a
off.
fanfic? Can we
Moving
write a
on.
fanfic for this, please?
So much anger.
Modern day
Yeah, I
Dynamo.
really was just beginning to write a fanfic on the show, I guess. You know, it's the day after Christmas that we're recording this, everyone. That's just the vibe. We're all full on leftovers.
Oh yeah,
I had frozen pizza. I don't know
Oh, hell
about
yeah.
you.
butter chicken pie.
That sounds amazing.
It's so good.
Dang.
Now, question, are you all going to suggest using this method for all of the other stones out there? Or do you not, like, is there even a plan for those yet?
I don't want to suggest what we did just because of like the mortality rate.
But at the same time, like,
so
we're just students. Like, a lot of everyone that did the spell to bring artists back were students. Like, they're still learning magic, but there are like professionals out there who have more magic, more control of their magic than us. Like, and there are probably covens that have been like hired on to maybe work on this kind of stuff. Like, maybe there are like literal like professional like necromancers who work together and like help bring people back. Like, I don't know 100%, but like,
this is basically a rescue because there are a bunch of people stuck inside of rocks. So I feel like they're calling in the heavy armory to deal with the problem.
yo, you think all of Shiora is down there?
Oh, you're bringing back people who are not students, but are the people who actually lived in this land before the school was actually built. I follow you. So, in the latest episode, Integrity was speaking with Alina after everything that had happened, and Integrity said that you felt like people did not listen to you. You were just seen as a group of troublemakers, and that most of the time, the world is just kind of happening to you all. Do you think that Mira and Sereneth would agree with that kind of assessment?
I think Mira probably would. Like, one line that I think Integrity said when we were speaking to Alma is like, we do not know what we're doing. Like, we really don't know what's happening here. And I think that is very true for Mira. I think in her own experiences, they have been faced with a lot of problems that they did not create and that they could not really control, and that they are doing their best to solve in the best way that they possibly can. And I mean, that goes back even to being taken on a school trip to Patter and having that happen around them. I think that there is this kind of sense of we are thrust into these situations and we are doing our best here. We are often treated like troublemakers for things that aren't our fault, like with the Oblek stuff. This is all we can do.
Do you feel like you're going to be treated that way, coming up here soon when you're having to talk to the council about all of this?
Oh, yeah.
Is that kind of feeling making y'all feel like your fate is already written for you heading into all of this?
Well, if I may, I think what's the word here? Not mystery factor. There's a specific word, wild card. The one wild card for Mira in all of this is Ala Algrim, because she's going to be involved. She's interested in Mira for reasons that Mira does not fully really know or understand. She knows that their whole group has been spied on. So I think that is the thing of Mira wondering, are we going to be kicked out because of this? Or does this very weird person who is interested in knowing what I am doing, is that person interested in keeping us around? And that's something that Mira doesn't really understand yet, but I think that is going through her head.
I think looking from the outside, it seems like majority of Swim has some stakeholders that will vouch for them in the in the council. Like, I could think of, again, like Ala Algrim for Mira, for Sereneth, what's his name?
Lord Peters.
Hell yeah, Grandpa.
Lord Peters. And then for Winsler, I think like Crow really likes Winsler.
Really?
Integrity has like no one in the council, so like maybe there is this thought that for Integrity it might be a end all be all for her.
Maybe there's a light sun person and Integrity can ask Sylvie to put in a good word.
I don't know. Like,
Ooh.
Sylvie might be
Dang.
like, yeah, but she steals my food, so go.
Also, Sylvie may be like, to be fair, Sylvie also may be like, I'm a cleric. That's a necromantic ritual. I don't think we should hang out anymore.
Oh.
Sad.
No.
It is sad.
Why would you throw it out there, Nathan?
I'm not the one who created a prejudice against necromancy in this D&D world.
That's fair.
Is there a
Dang it.
prejudice against necromancy, though? Because it seems like they're restricted in what magics they can do, but it seems like I think it's like specific forms of necromancy.
Are you
rather
talking
than,
about
like,
how we reacted to Artis? Because when we first met him, his office was... There was a whole discussion of like them going into the necromancy department. We were like, oh shit, this guy's a bad guy.
Yeah, he was wearing all black and going to the necromancy department, and everyone was like,
That's a villain.
Killed. We're about to be
Oh
killed
my
by
gosh.
a villain. Why did we choose him for the mentor?
I don't know if we're sticking to the initial question or if we're moving on from there or not.
If you would like to move on, if you have something that you would like to say, feel free.
I just think like definitely like since all of the crazy has started happening, it's kind of like a checklist of like, okay, this thing has now happened and we have to add that to the list and we have to fix that, but then these 3 other things have now been added on. And 100% like Sarah was talking about, like everything that happened in Patter and everything, like we very much were thrust into that whole situation. There have been a couple of times, at least in my own personal opinion, where it was happening outside of us, but our sense of we have to do something about this is what brought us into it. Like, for instance, the whole thing with the Obleks, like kids were going missing, but there were also kids at the school who, like, I think if they were in our position, they might not have jumped into, we have to find what this is and automatically stop it, but because we're us and our sense of like, but there's something wrong, we have to make that right, is what definitely pushed us to it.
Heroes.
And
Interesting.
even though like there's been a couple of crazy times, like a lot of bigger stuff has happened recently where we have finally gotten them off the list, basically. Like, I don't think it's gonna be like we're being pushed around by the world forever. I definitely feel like there are gonna be a lot of times where it's gonna be like, oh, this is happening, and you can choose to help it, or you can step to the side and hope that it works out, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. We're just kids who want to do good things.
We just like doing good things, but then sometimes we don't do good things.
100%.
Like, we're good people. We're good people, I would hope. And we intend to do the right or good thing, but sometimes, like, we're also not that
if someone is good or someone is bad is 100% from the perspective of the people outside of the individual's head. You know what I mean? Like, maybe to the thoughts of Professor Alaro, we're like true neutral, like chaotic something. In our own heads, we think we're awesome. I don't know how Artis feels. I'm hoping that Artis at this time feels like we're good because like we did everything we could to save him. Exactly. But like anyone outside of that situation might hear about it and be like, whoa, those kids are evil as fuck. Get them out of the school, please.
It is interesting, though, to hear like that the consensus is, yeah, the world just kind of happens to us a good deal of the time. And like the real, like, I don't know, it makes my mind wander back to the very beginning, like back in the Sunken Hatch and that first arc of like investigating that little area further, and how much of that was like really a choice that the characters made. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Or how
we
much
just
of
wanted
that
to
was
explore.
like, yeah, like how much of that is on them? Like, is there like a certain degree of gray here where like it wasn't necessarily wrong to explore, but these are like very direct consequences of actions.
Yeah. And we were told not to.
Yeah.
But we did.
But
right?
we also didn't get a waiver around there that's like, the reason you should not explore is because
Exactly.
That's true.
like one of your arms will turn into a snake. One of you will have a patron that is the progenitor. One of you will have this happen to them. Like we understood that it was a mysterious place, but not the true scope of the dangers that lay ahead of us. And I am saying all of this from a character perspective. I'm not saying any of this to imply that as players we don't make choices that have consequences or that we do not have agency. I only mean from the perspective of our characters, we are often feeling like we are thrust into situations that we didn't choose for ourselves and didn't control, and that we are doing our best in response to those things.
Yeah, integrity prays to God and is like, hey, can you quit railroading us, please? Thank you.
Jeez. It's like I don't know, like from the point of view of someone who like definitely like kind of like disconnects, like after we're done recording and we finish everything, I like to think back on what happened for a lot of things. And it's kind of put me in the mindset of like, it's so hard to make a decision because you really don't know the domino effect of what would happen. You really have to go with what you believe is right at the time. And whatever happens after that, you have to face those. Like bringing artists back, we have to talk to the council most likely. Like, and I think it's important to kind of like stick to what did we believe, like what mindset were we in before we like started, basically.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, good stuff. Well, artists coming back is a big thing that is going to have serious consequences. And I think we're facing the most serious consequence right here in front of us, which is, as you all know, Artis Artesian has not appeared on the hit podcast Trials and Trebuchets in person form while Conversations in Catapults has been on the air. That is how long we've been without Artis Artesian.
Dang.
Now that he is back, he is a character who has made an appearance on the podcast while Conversations in Catapults is on the air, which means that Artis Artesian is finally getting his turn at the helm of battleships.
Wonderful.
All right, I've got one.
Oh my god.
Now, because Artis is a little bit special for all of us, and And because it's Christmas, we're going to have a special version of Battleships. There's the regular version, aka the Santa version, and there's the Grinch version, which is a second round.
Who do
you
you
have to
ship
pick-
artists with? Santa or the
Who do you think-
Grinch?
No, it's the worst ship for artists.
Oh my god.
So, it is a
Fidel
double
is not
trouble
allowed.
Battleships. But first, who do we think Artist Artesian would be best suited? And also, don't say Fidan.
Excuse you, I just want my parents to be happy.
That's all right. It's your point to lose. Sarah, you have an answer ready to go.
Yes. I would like to ship Artist Artesian and Alma Alaro.
Interesting. Tell me
ooh.
more.
Yeah, so there's a few things that I think I really like with this pairing. The first is, both Artis and Alma have at this point sort of been thrust into the role of mentoring Swim in some way, having to deal with the consequences of Swim's bullshit. They've kind of found themselves in this unlikely surrogate parenthood role. I think that would be a very fun thing for them to bond over, whether it's sharing strategies with each other, whether it's just getting to vent at each other about like, hey, Swim's back on their bullshit again, and what's up with that? Fucking wild. Not only that, but if they ended up together, Artis would also have the potential to become an actual parent to Ms. Ira, have somebody with a much more calm life, things a little bit more chill. He had always wanted to be a parent. He was planning on having kids with Finan. Let him finally take that opportunity to have a child of his own. If you have read the notes from the behind the scenes Patreon notes, you will also know some fun things about Alma's backstory, and based on a thing that was actually said in the podcast to Mira, we can also discover that both of them have dead spouses, something that they can also bond over, the shared trauma of having lost your spouse, having lost a very important person in your life, is now this thing that can connect them. Not only that, but Alma, Alaro, and Artis had this kind of bonding experience before of like, Artis had those prosthetic fingers and Alma was the one to make them and take care of them. So they can have a cute little scene where Alma is like chiding Artis like, oh, you're not taking
Sarah
care
gets
of
the
these, let me
point.
tune these up for you.
Yeah.
She's like placing her hand very gently on Artis's finger.
Oh my god.
Keeping it tighter. Then they meet eyes as their hands brush and sensation returns to Artis's fingers and he gasps as he's never felt the feeling of someone else's hand on his, not for centuries. Now, there may be one small wrench in this plan, and that is the fact that there was this conversation between Alma and Swim where Artis was trapped in the rock and Alma said, no, he died. You should just let him continue to be dead. But let me propose to you, this made Artis like her more, because that's part of the appeal for him. He's a very sad man. I rest my case.
I will also say, Sam, feel free to choose Fidan. I was just picking. You can.
Oh no, like even if I said it as like a joke kind of thing. Even then, Sarah took my option and made a much better argument than I would have. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we're all
no.
good. I'm happy with this. Sarah's much better with
have
words, so it all works.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. Ooh.
Carla.
I am I am worse with words, so this argument may fall short, but I would like to propose Artis and his thesis.
Yes. We're going down my route.
I have written a thesis, and let me just tell you that we were the OTP, the one true pair. I worked so hard to write that shit that, like, I love it. I put my blood and soul and my heart into it. So I would argue that the really long-ass title of, I cannot say it, but Artis's
Artistic
thesis
resonance
book,
theory.
Oh my god.
that is the perfect Santa Claus for artists.
Oh my god, these are both
Incredible.
amazing.
Those are both very good.
Holy shit.
Sam, do you want to throw one in there?
I'm just gonna try and think of something real quick. I'm going to say, I think we made this one a while ago under all teens. So I'm gonna bring that one back.
Okay.
And
God.
go back for another trope of enemies to lovers.
Incredible. So Altine and Artis.
Artis, yeah.
That's a rare pair. I haven't heard of that one before.
I think we I think we talked about it so long ago. Like I think it was one of the first episodes when Altine like first was a
That
part
sounds about
of,
right. We probably did
yeah.
it when Altine was in Battleships.
100. I believe so. Like it's somewhere in a distant memory. I don't remember 100%. But like just, you know, Altine was sent here to have to keep an eye on us and everything. Artis has had to keep an eye on us as our mentor. So if at any point they would have been able to like sit down, I feel like if they had a different situation where they would have been able to sit down and like properly like talk to each other, they would have found a lot of things in common. Like they like care about the school, like what they have to deal with swim constantly, just kind of going off and doing their own thing, causing mischief and such.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. Well, in that case, our 3 options for you all for this edition of Battleships for this first round. We have Artis and Alma Alaro. Artis and his thesis, elemental, or no, is it artistic resonances of elemental
I think it's
magic?
artistic resonance. Let me find out.
Artis's resonance.
It wasn't Discord,
Artistic
no?
resonance theory: the effects of elemental conversion zones on the creative mind. A historical review.
Ex-Artis, and then there was Artis and Altine. If y'all could, go ahead and send those in to me now.
Nathan's smile is making me nervous.
Oh no! I hope what just happened isn't what I think just happened.
It's a 3-way tie.
Oh my
think that's
god,
it.
what? No.
Well, we all saw it coming. It's got to be Alma and Artis
Yep.
coming in there. Very, you know, that was something that was very clearly coming from months of forethought and planning, and you know, you
I had
really earned
notes.
that one. Yeah, you were ready
Thank
to
you.
go. Were you using your teleprompter for that or no?
I had written down all of my reasons in this little page of notes
Oh,
here, and I was
fantastic.
referencing that.
Oh my god.
Amazing.
Well, time to move on to part 2, which is picking out the worst possible match for Artis Artesian. This one
I have
is
one.
Yep, me too.
specifically just because I hate artists so much. I want you all to help me
Whoa.
make him miserable. So please help me find the ideal way to do that.
The worst one.
The worst.
The worst one to go with Artis, even though I voted for this one in the previous one. It's Alma Lara.
Whoa.
Because he already has a dead wife.
No,
Now, Professor Alaro, her brain is getting eaten for breaking like her oath. So now there's going to be another dead partner. Like poor Artis. So that is my
Damn.
argument.
Damn.
Good point. Okay.
Yeah, it is kind of rough to like ship 2 people together and then for one to be like dead within the next 72 hours. I'm assuming.
happens.
That's the worst pair.
All right, mine is Artis plus Elric Wraithrin. So there's a few reasons why this is a horrible ship. So the first is obviously the lifespan problem. Artis is an elf. Elric is a half elf. He's going to die sooner. Artis is going to have to deal with like another dead spouse. Not a good time. The
It's
second
Elric,
one,
though. It's a second dead spouse. Like,
yeah,
he's not going to worry about it. This is
yeah, good point. The second part is like, listen, Adeline is a very important factor here because she wants Elric to be fucking miserable. And so this is going to cause Adeline to dislike Artis Artesian and possibly sabotage Artis, which is going to create problems for Swim. It's going to create problems for Delra. It's going to create problems for everybody. Plus, I think the idea of Mira's adoptive father and Delnos' actual father getting married just causes some weird fucking life with Derek shit there. Let's see.
Oh my
Finally,
gosh.
there's
I
the
love that
very
show.
central factor that Elric is extremely annoying but not extremely helpful. And what we know about Artis is that he gets injured all the fucking time. That man is like a horse. So whenever something bad is going to happen for Artis, Elric's going to be there. He's going to be very obnoxious about it, and he is not going to be helpful about it. Imagine all the shit that already happens to Artis happening to him, but having this screechy little man in your ear the whole time trying to write a song about how sad he is that Artis is unconscious. Worst ship, I hate it.
excellent points all around. That, yeah, the messing with the Mira and Delna's ship is the main thing, you know, that I really see there. Sam, can you make this sad dad miserable?
I know the perfect way.
Oh God.
Now, I want you to imagine Artis.
I'll close my eyes.
A responsible person. I personally believe a good person. Maybe sometimes a little bit dry of humor. And I believe that the worst thing to ever happen is to put him with the literal driest person that Swim has ever been in contact with, Yexim. Honestly, at this point, I believe anyone with Yexim is like one of the worst options.
The worst, because Yexim is the worst.
Yeah, what a gross though.
What a
Yeah,
gross
Yexim really is just a little Yoda. It's a little dry Yoda.
I imagine if they tried to like go do something at all. Yexim can't do anything. Artis is a sad person and would just be like sitting there. And Yexim would try to do something fun and like maybe break his hip. I don't know.
See, I don't know.
Like-
That also sounds like Artis though. Artis
Artis
is so
would
weak that
also
he would
bring-
end up breaking his hip playing mini golf. That sounds like him.
No, but here's the thing. He would be so sad that he wouldn't really try. He would just kind of be like, okay, yeah, we're here to have fun, sure. And then Yexim would like hurt himself.
Gosh.
Somehow
Probably
fall
don't
into
even
like
have
the
water.
pond. He would fall into the golf pond and still not and come out dry.
Well, in that case, for the 3 anti-ships for Artis Artesian, we have Artis and Alma Alaro in Carla's big
Shade.
reversal. We have also Artis and Elric Wraithrin, and finally Artis and Yexim. If you all could send in your votes.
You got it?
All right. Walking away with this one once again is Sarah
Carla.
Zed, taking it
Thank you.
for Artis and Elric. Good stuff all around. Truly, without Ben here, I guess it can just be said that Sarah knows Artis best out of the whole cast.
With Ben not here, I'm going to decide to say that whatever Ben's would have been, it still wouldn't have been as good.
That is fair.
And Ben's never going to
Yeah,
hear this
that-
because he doesn't listen.
He does
But now
not
Luke's
listen.
going to fucking isolate a clip of me saying that and send it to Ben and be like, listen, look at what this fucker said about you.
Well, now that you brought up that Luke will do that, Luke will definitely
will
do
definitely
that.
do
100%.
that.
That's true. Good lord.
Ben, we do not support
Checking
what
the
Sarah
scoreboard
said.
now
It's
at
only
the
Sarah.
end of this battleship.
Okay, she's nodding. Carla's nodding right now and being like, but I do
Carla's
though.
also
She
giving a
just
thumbs
mouthed,
up.
Shh, don't tell him. She is. She's thumbs upping.
I'm not moving my head. I have a stiff neck.
This
It's
is the
2
episode
against
where
1.
everybody
She just
is
shakes.
dead.
She just shook her head. She just shook her head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
She's mouthing down with Ben. Down with Ben.
How can I do that if I'm laughing?
He's holding up a petition to throw a coup.
Like that.
oh golly. Well, checking back at the scoreboard, we have Ben at 4, Carla, Sam, the two of you are tied with 2 points each, and then Sarah way out in the lead with 7 points.
Dang.
It's time to start making alliances, I think. We have to really start getting into the meta game 16 episodes in.
I have to start campaigning.
Yeah.
Re-elect
Oh.
Sarah Zed.
God. Well, thanks to the 3 of you for joining me here on this wonderful Boxing Day. I hope that you all have a wonderful evening. And, dear listener, stay tuned, because here in a moment, I'm going to be sliding into the DMs with our good friend, Luke. Bye!
Bye.
Ow, Sarah, why didn't you punch me?
Welcome back to Sliding Into the DMs. I'm here with Luke,
Hi.
who's been a pebble for, the past year or so?
Year. It's been a year. This is the sound a pebble makes. I don't have a rock with me. I left it outside, but I think
You have a
it's-
rock in your house?
Absolutely have a rock in my house. I have multiple rocks in my house. They're covered in algae. I have little labels on them and everything. They're on my display case in the sunlight. I'm like, this is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I forgot who I was talking to. That's on me. Goodness. Luke, how are you doing? This is our first episode here in the new year of
Yes,
2022.
It's 2022, no longer 2021. And I'm just exhilarated to not, for a main character NPC, a first tier string NPC, to no longer be a rock. He's going to have to put in a lot of legwork to get those, the number of lines, words spoken back up to par, back up to
But Canon Nathan is back, and we're so excited for it. Yeah,
God. Yeah, poor Canon Nathan.
I've given up.
Yeah,
Listen, I understand why you had to do what you had to do. You have to
Mhm.
get through those Patreon characters.
Absolutely. Just got to churn through them.
Yeah, listen, that's what you did. as long as, I'm making your job easier by not existing within the realm of the podcast anymore. I totally get it. I appreciate the consolation prize of giving me my own show instead of just a character. But, would love to have both. Would love to have the cake and eat it as well.
Imagine an episode where Ken and Nathan appears and you also get to do CNC on that episode. What a dream scenario it would be.
Yeah, well, one exists, the other cannot be. So, like, if Ken and Nathan does return, that is the end of CNC.
No, it's not. No.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, Ken and Nathan only has the time to do recording of this show because, he's a rock. So.
Yep.
But no.
Gosh.
Yeah, Luke, this is just open question.
Yep. Absolutely.
How do you think Artis's Pebblification went?
Ooh.
Like, we've reached the end of this, like, overarching story beat. Or not maybe the end, but something has been resolved in a big way.
Yeah.
Like, did this all proceed in a way that you expected?
Oh, absolutely not. No.
Did you think it would be resolved, like, immediately?
I thought it would be resolved fairly quickly. I thought that it would be a quick little procedure, and then we could get on with Autumn's End, maybe. And it spiraled into something larger than that because the players themselves voiced to me, hey, give us a moment. Can you put the brakes on for a second? Just a quick second, please and thank you. Can we have a moment to breathe? And so we got a lot of downtime and just other things filling that empty void of a mentor. And so he was never really needed. And I think that we've proved how wonderfully everything goes along when there's no person in charge to like lean on, which I think is the great conclusion out of this. I think that's something you voiced. I don't know if it's in the show or just in private conversations in generally about like artists being there is a crutch for a set of first-year students, as well as just players being able to lean on me as the DM and be like, what do we do, DM? And me have to be like, well, do this, right?
I was just going to say the thing about like having a story set in a school where you're focusing on the students means that adults cannot be super useful.
Yes.
And having like an adult whose whole job it is to be useful for the students means it's like, how are we going to reconcile these things?
Yep.
Which I appreciate what you did by making him a little wimpy baby boy who could just get broken in half by a strong gust of wind.
They had an alternate world where they chose Dessa as their mentor and like they have no problems because Dessa just solves everything for them. What a world that would be.
Or Yexum. I feel like Yexum is actually like a good problem solver.
Absolutely. An absolute bureaucrat sitting behind a desk and raising no fingers to solve problems. But to circle back to the question of like, did it go as I expected or had hoped? No, not overly. I like what we've done because we've gotten this entire Autumn's Mend focus upon it. And so we broke the two problems. We came out of Trading Places, and there was at Trading Places and under campus, and there was two looming problems generally, or at least very, very present looming problems. With a third on the horizon. But the two were potentiality's fucky and artist is a pebble. How do we fix those two things? And so Autumn's Blend was all about fixing potentiality. And once that got sorted, they've taken their time and we've had this very spontaneously necromantic arc. And I think I've said that every CNC episode, but like, I don't think I went into this arc being like, it's going to be the necromancy arc. And now we are fully fucking in it, like in the thick of it.
Welcome to Halloween in January.
Yeah, I know. The arc started in Halloween. I don't know what you want from me. I
fair.
just like spooky stuff, and necromancers are cool, and like dark rituals in a garden with candles and people getting blasted with arcane lightning as magic surges and like breaks their mind. It's just cool. I like it.
So you weren't expecting it to go this way. What were your aims when you were originally designing the process? Like, when you originally pebblified artists?
Yeah, when I originally pebblified artists, I assumed that they would leap into Celty's arms, quite frankly. And the resistance to do so indicates a difference of perspectives on the end of Trading Places, which I think is the students do not want to engage with Celty or get in her or owe her anything ever again, and that I guess is very understandable. But from a very selfish storyteller perspective, I was like, yeah, go crawling back to Celty, please, because that's like the easiest way they would have gotten through this, right? Is like, hey, you have a whole coven's worth of magic, please help us now, right? Which is just spectacular.
It is very funny to like look back on you being like, yeah, you would have to go get a whole coven of witches or a magic circle, and they're like, where are we gonna get a magic circle? God.
Yep. I fucking love the way that they did go through it, because it's made it feel like, because it's taken so long and out of character in our world, it's taken a year, right? Or just under a year at least. And that's an ordeal of things, right? And it makes it feel in a way earned. And even though there could have been more consequences if I was being a bit less kind on the day of recording, or if maybe they rolled less well to convince Alma and get her on their side, right? I could have justified being a bit meaner in that moment, being like, make a decision. If I had rolled a bit worse for more NPCs, if one of the players had rolled worse, there's a moment where Sarah, out of character, goes like, hey, we took an hour to rest. Does that count as a short rest? And I go, yeah, that can count as a short rest.
Ooh,
if I hadn't done that, shit would have gone really fucking badly, right?
And it already went pretty fucking badly.
Yeah. And I think just people who listen to the show know that it's not as if that won't be an impact, right? Because I think we've historically had multiple moments where nothing physically changes that much. Like, this is slightly different than that, but things will happen. Ferdinand dying physically had no effect on any of Swim, right? Like, they lost their skin, they got their skin back, a couple of scars. Physically, there's nothing there, but there's like the emotional toll of that interaction, of like those relationships and everything going on there, the social implications of everything, the emotional implications of everything, and then processing all of that, which is something the players have keyed into really well. For me, a lot of the time I am a lot loosey-goosier about these things and will meet the players where they're at. So if the players are not in the moment being like, oh, this is a capital T trauma, then I will gloss over things because I don't feel the need to belabor that, right? But if the players are like, let's dwell on this a little moment because I am hurt and my character is hurt, right? And it's like, okay, we can dwell on this and we can treat it appropriately. This is one of those situations where even though people have returned from the dead, obviously there is a weight to dying, right? And to being the person, like we can think of Integrity's reaction of like the guilt of being the one to push Alina into this position, which is just a scrumptious outcome of this entire event.
Oh, it's very good. Like, because it's such a weird situation to imagine yourself in, but I don't know, it's one that I feel can only come from a game of like D&D or from like a role-playing game like this.
Absolutely.
And like,
Such
also
a
question,
minor thing.
I wanted to talk, what was that?
No, I was just saying it's I love things that are, I always notice this in media when there's like a minor thing, and to my brain I go, that's not important, and then it turns into something important, right? Like, it's fundamentally Integrity going, Alina, you have to come. Here's a thing, ha ha ha, right? That shouldn't be an important thing in anything. That's a minor detail. And then we move forwards and it's like, oh, and then we've had stuff like this where it's long, it's a long play, and it's almost more of me retconning stuff to happen or it just being a coincidence. Mira getting bit on the arm that will eventually be bit off by Nesca, by one of the little snakes that came from Nesca's ribs. Like, that's a minor little detail that eventually cascades into something by pure chance. But Integrity pushing it into Alina's hands and Alina showing up, Alina, this kind of really, really, really side character who's not been developed an insanely amount. She's mostly just like, I've just told them and been like, this is what Alina is like, as opposed to being like, here's she is and let's develop her. And then her dying, right? And so we immediately get a payoff for that setup and minor detail. It's just, I love that. It's great.
Excellent. Now, question, speaking of Alina, like, this is more about the mechanics of the whole ritual.
Yes.
Now, did you roll for the characters who died during the ritual, or were their fates decided by player rolls?
Oh, no. I rolled 4 little d20s for the 4 NPCs. I wrote on my little session notes, this person is this die, this person is this die, this person is this die. And then I rolled it and it was like, God damn, that's a lot of 3s, right?
Yeah, were you intentionally aiming to kill them, or was it just rolling really high damage?
I thought it would be cool. Because I just thought it would be neat, especially for the 2 necromancers or the 3 necromancers. Like, I just think the dynamic there is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I would have loved if one of the PCs had gone down, although they're a lot more resilient.
Now, if they had gone down, would it have been instant death like it was for the NPCs, or would you have them make death saves?
Yeah, that would have been a death saving throw situation.
Gotcha.
Whereas with NPCs in circumstances of like, if we there's many moments, or I guess I can point to one other moment where an NPC has gone unconscious, which is back in Food for Thought in the Wraithrin kitchen when Delnis got knocked out, right? Delnis got knocked out. She didn't start dying. She wasn't just dead. But for me, I do not give the same benefit of a doubt or I don't give the same like luxury of death saves to NPCs. I play in your game, Nathan, and so I know that you do, and I find it a fascinating thing that you leave it to chance.
Very specific NPCs. I want to be clear here.
Like
everyone,
almost like nemesis NPCs.
Yes.
Like yeah, which I think is really cool, and it really like amps up like the scariness of certain people. The fact that they don't just die when you kill them or like bring them to 0 hit points.
Well, I know these people die when we kill them.
But like for these NPCs, this specific moment, this is very, very lethal magic. And we can reflect on, again, minor details of a couple episodes ago in Damati going, just bring more people, because if there's more people, you guys have less of a chance of your eyes popping, if you know what I mean, right?
God, yeah.
Mentioning the aforementioned, like, oh, eyes are really important. It's where most of your magic is channeled. Like, if you hurt them, that can be really bad for things.
Yeah, was that a spur-of-the-moment decision to have eyes be the magic channeler, or has that just always been the case?
Oh, it's 1000% like just in the moment. So much of like the little details like that are just me in the moment, just like I need to fill the character's mouth with words right now.
Do you know how cool of an image it is to now imagine like every time a character is casting a spell in this to have like their eyes be doing some cool shit?
Yeah.
I love this is just such a minor like little detour that I'm getting down now.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that I love about D&D is like, saying something like as a throwaway thing in the moment, which then when you're like, oh, this could actually like really change how I view this world. I don't know.
Yeah, I very much agree with you. One of the things early on, this is like old shit. This is 2018 stuff. Is I was asking Ben, what character do you want to play? And he was like, I want to play a human wizard. And I was like, oh, that's kind of just a human wizard. That's kind of lame. And he was like, okay, I'll play a gnome then. Jesus. A gnome named Winsler
What's wrong with humans, by the way?
Ben always plays humans.
Humans are a good race to play. As someone else who also only plays humans.
Human fighter, very good, very fun. But anyways, I absolutely teased him for playing a human wizard. And so when I asked him what his spellcasting focus was, because I was just so excited, I was like, I want to play this game. I want to start this campaign already. It was like November 2018. And he was like, he as a spell focus, he's just going to cast magic from his spell book and like use spell components and like do all these things and like describing the visuals of how Winsler would cast magic. For me, it was like, oh, that's so fascinating. And so like that's one of the things I really enjoy when making new NPCs is thinking about the way in which they will cast magic. And it's not until you, Nathan, have just pointed out the channeling magic through the eyes thing, and then like this whole imagery of the way the ritual proceeded and magic being channeled through their eyes and almost like this connected vision everyone had. It does make me realize people's eyes should be glowing a little bit more and like being a bit more magical when they're casting magic, because that's pretty fucking sick.
It's sick as hell. You get the Thor Ragnarok eyes.
Jesus.
Those are very cool eyes.
Yes, I agree. Serenup, shoot lightning and get static and have like lightning eyes, please. It's so fucking cool. Ugh. God.
Now, all right. back
Yes, back up.
back to the actual like set of episodes that we were talking about.
Yes.
Now, speaking of like characters being dead,
Yeah.
something that I thought was very important, and this may just be me picking up on like something that was a throwaway thing and assigning it too much importance, but I did notice with Alma having to speak to the group beforehand. I thought that was a really good way of putting what the group was doing into perspective.
Yes.
Like, was that your goal to like make sure that, we want to make sure that one character at least refers to Artis as being fully dead.
Yeah.
Like not as a joke, like Artis is dead right now. There is no difference between like this and being, stabbed. However, we've just been using like the whole pebblification. Like way to distance ourselves from it.
Yeah, I think that this has been a funny arc, right? It's been a lot of goofs and gags. It's been a lot of happy, funny times. We fought a big spider. We laughed a lot. We had some fun shoe dude NPCs. We had,
and that's enough of that. We're done being. This is no longer a fun podcast.
And even the episode leading up to that, 152. When they're like, oh, I'm going to break into the booth and mess with Bert and like all these other things. Or even when they're making the goddamn flesh golem and it like slapstick comedy falls out of the wagon, or like you have Poji the dream crab like being funny and like waxing poetic in the rainstorm. And like these are funny things, and this is but it's serious subject matter. You are creating life and Frankensteining folks and like trying to transfer souls, and like it is quite serious stuff, but it's been all under this veneer of like goofiness. And Alma coming in and just saying that man's dead, and what you're doing here is incredibly dangerous because you're all imbeciles who don't know what you're doing. I can't help you, but you're fucking idiots, right? There was like a very real, when I said Alma Alaro showed up at the Hall of Voyages, there was a very real like the air was taken out of the sails, as it were. Not in a like, oh, this is shit now, but in a like, oh my God, we're in trouble. This is
mom
very
came
serious.
home early.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
These stakes immediately went from very, very low to like stupidly high for everyone, and everyone started taking it much more seriously. And then Alma having that conversation with him and saying he's dead, right? And actually being she historically has been a very tactful person, right? Who, when Mira goes and talks to her, she's like, oh, here's life, and I'm sorry that I can't give you better advice or all these things.
She seems like a great approachable adult, like very good surrogate mentor for like, if let's replace Artis with her.
And to just have her be so just direct in that moment, to have zero tact and just say he's dead, what you're doing is stupid and idiotic, and I don't know who taught you how to do it, but people are going to get hurt here, right? It just immediately set the tone for that episode in a way that I don't know if that's what they were expecting to happen, and I hope that posting posters all over campus. Like Alma was waiting by the dining hall for Mira to go back to her dorm, because Alma knew that Mira was in the necromancy department and needed to talk to her about that shit, right? And so I literally fed it to integrity of like, oh, do you want to go to dining hall and put posters up? And she was like, yes. And I was like, perfect. You've fallen into my trap. Right? And then even being like, Mira, roll like charisma. So I was like, just to, see how many people saw your posters, see how good the posters were. And then she's like, absolutely. Can it be performance? I'm like, absolutely, it can be performance. That's a great role for you. Right? So it was I was like, Alma will come in here and will make sure everyone understands the severity of what is being attempted, because we've been playing a bit fast and loose with people like Indamati who don't see this as a dangerous or valuable, like someone who doesn't see a person's life as inherently valuable, to say, go get more people for your potluck so that if one of them dies, it won't hurt you as bad, or it won't be as bad for you, right?
Exactly. Like also, I feel like Indumati, the first instinct would be like, oh, let's see which body parts are like the best for harvesting for a new flesh golem from these students, rather than like, let's try to raise them back real quick.
Indumati, who would have been in like that same predicament of Alma, where it's like, I can either break this like Gaze spell upon me, or like this oath that I've taken and like cause myself serious psychic harm for these students, or I can just sit back and like, they knew what they were doing and like they accepted the risks and like we might as well just make the best of this. Exactly. They're adults. They signed so much paperwork to come here. Their parents knew the risks. We'll send a letter to the next of kin. These things happen, right?
God, yeah. Hey, this is just a curious question, just because I also can't remember right now. What race is Indumati again?
Indumati is just a human.
Oh, just a regular human.
Just a regular old human. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, back to the actual ritual and bringing artists back, I do have another question regarding the after effects of that ritual, which here's a basic question. Have you missed playing artists?
Ooh.
And are you anxious about playing him again?
I did miss playing artists, yes. I've slipped back into him like a well-worn pair of boots, I think. And
yeah, just break us off a piece of the artist's voice real quick here on the pod.
I think the artist's voice has changed over time.
I immediately regret asking for this because I didn't realize how weird it is to actually see you voice an NPC in front of me.
Oh, interesting.
I've not had this experience before. I only ever hear you without the visual.
I'm sorry about that. Now
I'm mostly, I feel a bit like disconcerted.
Yeah, it's art. I like Artis's voice. His voice has changed a lot from the initial what I was going for when I was like trying. If you go back and listen to those first episodes, I was doing like a very, very, very bad Patrick Warburton impression.
Patrick
Warburton impression. I was doing an absolutely I can't do, if I ever say do XYZ celebrity voice, I actually can't do that, and I'm very bad at it. Some of us who read notes might have an example of that. That was posted in the January 2022 DM notes. Go and read them, folks, where I wanted to make gargoyles sound like a certain celebrity. And
if you want to read those DM notes, hey, hop on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/trialsandtrebs.
Yep.
How much do they have to donate to see DM notes? Is that $5?
DM notes is $25, which is
that's $25.
Is a crime.
Yeah.
They are not. I'm so sorry, everyone who pays for them. I hope that you enjoy the show enough that that's worth it for you.
Stunning. Incredible salesmanship, Luke.
Yeah, or that things like Alina Deadbread bring on a new presence to themselves when you go back and read them. Can I? Yeah, Artist is great to play. I missed playing him. I was excited to play him.
Yeah.
The line at the end of 153, spectacular. I loved it. And then just being able to like cut that tension immediately by being like, oh, and he's naked, right? Because it's just funny to me. There's a lot of naked characters in the show. We never talk about it. It's funny to me. I want to talk about it.
Funny.
Nudity's funny sometimes, folks.
I feel like we're pretty classy about it. Like when Nesca like shows up in like human form, we're super classy. I feel like with artists, it's okay to laugh about him.
We can have a bit of humor about his little pasty body.
It's just.
But like to like stop for a moment. Alina dying is something that if you told me that in like 2019, 2018, like, oh, this one character you wrote on this piece of paper is gonna die. There's characters who I created with the express intention of killing who haven't died, which is cool.
Gnal and Lucia.
No. But I've like maybe. Interesting.
They're just the most innocent bystanders characters.
We might be seeing more of one of them imminently based on private conversations with one of the players who's like, I want this person to do XYZ for me. And I'm like, that's very achievable, right? So I'm excited to see if we get that. You look puzzled. And
I'm just waiting for the scoop. People listen to the show for the scoop, so I was hoping to hear this big scoop.
Yeah. I was asked particularly for I was asked directly, privately, for some Lucia content. So Provided certain conditions are met, we'll be seeing a bit of her shortly, I think.
All right, we have some Lucia in the orbit forecast.
Yep.
All right, be on the lookout. Big Lucia heads
Can we
out
refer to just regular NPCs as being in orbit now too? Or is that not just reserved for Patreon NPCs?
That's up to you. It's your turn. Yeah,
it's a terrible term.
Congrats on introducing new Patreon NPCs and then to immediately kill them.
Oh.
Yeah, how do you were you worried about that? Were you like, well, hey, thanks for your $75?
Oh goodness. I felt it was hilarious. I won't lie. It's very funny. I felt very bad, but at the same time I was like, this is pretty funny, but in the moment I'm like, this is very serious because included amongst this list of the deceased is Delnus, right? Which I know is going to elicit a response. It's also Alina. I feel like if both of the Patreon NPCs died, or even if all three of them stayed and all three of them died, I think that would just be a giggly hoot, honestly. I think we could all take a step back and be like, that's pretty fucking dumb.
That's a good bit.
Yeah. But to those whose NPC died, which only one NPC died, one patron NPC died, which is Duet, who I love with all my heart. I love a kobold. I
also
fucking
great
adore,
name.
Amazing name. Lily messaged me a while ago now and was like, this is what I'm thinking. Is that all clear? Does that work? And I was like, this is beautiful. This is a wonderful idea. Thank you. And then we waited 17 actual years, and she's finally here. And then Lily, on the actual Discord server for the show, you can find the link in the description or on our social media from thousands of ages ago, was like, Luke, what the fuck are you? Why did you do this to me? Which is a great response. I love when patrons listen to the episodes where their NPCs show up. It's just a very delightful thing where they're like, oh my god, I didn't expect this, right?
It's a very exciting process. As someone who has been there, it rules. It's like seeing a dream come true for you just right there. Well, not seeing, but hearing.
Yeah, hearing. I think it's a pretty fucking silly move to just kill a patron NPC, the same episode that they arrive in, or to do other shit with them the same episode they arrive in, like what was going on with Aelin, which is very fun. So Nathan, I told the players this when we finished recording that episode, but when I was going through and saying, because that was the result of Mira doing an insight check on the crowd, and I was going to skim through and be like, oh, this is what Luciana is like, and this is what Duet's like, and this is what Aelin's like, and he's kind of sketched out and spacing out. Anyways, this is what Alina, and then I didn't even get to the Alina bit. I was trying to skim through all of that shit and get through it as fast as possible. And then Sarah/Mira immediately was like, no, we're stopping on that one because that worries me and I need to address this. And I was like, oh, very interesting. And internally, I'm filled with glee because I'm like, ooh, they caught it. They caught it before I could push it through the sieve of things. It's delightful.
Listen, we just saw a character with red hair and we were like, hey, whoa.
Yeah, just real sketchy. We need to stop and address that.
Yeah, really a sketchy character. And if people appreciate or like that character based on what we've seen of them, I don't understand.
If people like or appreciate that character based on what we've seen of them, I don't think you like and appreciate that character is my point.
Yeah, no, you like your idea of that character a whole lot.
Oh, that's also an interpretation of things. I would just more so say that character, is certainly a character that exists in this world.
But is it Aelin? Who's to say?
Is it Aelin? That's a big question. It's a big if. Is it or is it? That's a big is it. I hope that they go to that room, that divinity department room, divination department room. It would be great.
That would be great. Well, hell yeah. Well, one last question before I let you go and get on out of here.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about the very lovely Mira and Delnus scene in 154. Wanted to end on that since we've been talking so much about death and sadness. I want to talk about death and love. Which is something that I noticed was that you let Mira be the one to first say, I love you to Delnus. And I was wondering if that was due to you wanting to as the DM, making sure that you were allowing the player to broach that first and kind of make sure that they're like the one initiating this and you aren't assuming, or if it was just like, oh, I think it would be a sweet scene of Delnus talking a lot and then being interrupted with the I love you.
Yes. It's a combination of those things. I went into that with and it's in my notes of like me having the express intention of being like, I want Mira to say this in this scene, and I will do my fucking damnedest to get this out of Mira, right?
Oh, that's fun.
And which is not the first time. Again, to reference those same patron notes that I posted today, there's a thing in there where like Delnus was supposed to make a joke about reviving Mira and then be like, oh, sorry, it's not the time. Which Mira then, without Delnus ever mentioning it, makes in like a couple episodes later on from when I intended for that to happen in Faint of Heart. And it's like that stuff's fun. And so going in with those intentions was definitely a thing. And like trying to set the energy for that was an intention. And with obviously I think that we're at a point where saying that either way, whether or not Mira was responsive to that would have been an interesting scenario. But I think that I would hope that Sarah trusts me enough as a DM that if I did initiate that, it would be fine. And then from a story standpoint, I do find it this fun little parallel of in Scandal at the end when Mira's just chattering and like being like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And then Delnus is the one to act, right? As opposed to this time when Delnus is the one voicing like insecurity and like this doubt and like these kind of like very grim kind of feelings almost. I don't know if grim is particularly the proper word. And then
grim
Mira
could be applicable here.
Okay, wonderful. And then Mira being the one to initiate that action, right? And then we get a very resolute kind of response from Delnus, which is quite interesting given the circumstances of this arc and everything else going on.
Yeah, agreed. I'm enjoying seeing the Delnus development. The development? Nope.
Development.
Fuck it.
This is your annual reminder that Delnus was supposed to show up for one arc and never again. And this is pretty cool. This like stories that just emerge from nothingness is very neat, and I will never tire of it. It's the best part of playing tabletop role-playing games.
Hell yeah, it fucking owns bones, and I'm here for it.
But I'm just so fucking glad that I got that reaction the way that I wanted it, right? When a scene goes the way you really fucking want it to go, you're like, this is excellent. Everything's great.
I was vicariously living through you in that moment, being like a DM and wanting you like to have like the player like really pick up, and like Sarah is such a good scene partner, and like being able to see what you're going for and like is willing to play into it as well.
It was I think that's a big highlight of that episode. I personally, I haven't edited completely that episode yet, so I have no idea how much it conveys, but I was going through it in that episode. I was sick as fuck, and I had a bad migraine, which is just like the worst. And
see, we need to release the CNC before we actually release the episode. That way people can be ready for it. Like, they just know, hey, I was not at 100%
I was not.
This time.
I was like losing it. I was like sweating. I think half of that episode I had my eyes shut and I was just like leaning on the wall, just trying my best to keep my fucking brain in my head. But like to have moments like that were excellent. Or like the Serenep scene was excellent. I think that everyone is such a good role player. Sarah is a excellent person to just throw to. I think I've said this so many times in the history of CNC, but like Sarah is such a there's such a low variance in like the performance that Sarah will give, and it's so reliable, and I'm so thankful for that. Not to say that everyone else isn't that, but like I think that Sarah is definitely like set aside from that. Like I think in the same way that I can rely on Ben as a player to give me a fun creative solution to a weird problem, I can rely on Sarah to just be like an absolute actor in a scene, right? And just absolutely like play Mira to just peaks right? Beyond what I would imagine, beyond I'm sure what all of us imagined these characters would be when we first started the show. And it's just such a wonderful pleasure to be able to be like, this is my hope for this scene. I'm going to fucking throw out all of that energy into the world the best I can, and to get the results and even better than what you expected back is just such a wonderful feeling as a DM. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Well, excellent. I'm so happy to hear that, and I am very much looking forward to whatever comes next for the fun little group of Swim.
Yes,
as
yes.
they're going to be put to death for their crimes. I assume
just off the cliff, thrown off the cliff, back to that shit.
Oh, it really does. They do. That's how they do it, huh?
Yep. Necromancers do not fuck around. Straight off the cliff. Yeah.
Well, everyone tune in next week for the finale of Trials and Trebuchets.
God. Someone's going to believe that.
No, this doesn't end. It's been going for 150 something episodes now. It's not over. It'll never be over.
Almost at the 3-year anniversary. Soon, very soon.
Should we do anything for an anniversary thing or no?
I think that would be cool to do an anniversary thing.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
However, I do realize that I've just signed us up for more work.
Add it to the piles that already are planned for 2022, eh?
Well, in that case, we need to go and hash out whatever our new production schedule looks like now that we have an anniversary episode on our plate. Luke,
yes.
Tell me about the social media that Trials and Trebuchets has.
I would love to tell you about @Trials and Trebs on Instagram and Twitter, where you can send us art you've made. You can tell us about how you felt about certain episodes, or you can just follow for teasers and fun art on the weekends. Most times, sometimes it's on Mondays. Mostly on Instagram. Yeah, and then. It's technically a social media, and we've already talked about it. It's more of a forum
Discord
style thing. The Discord.
Yeah,
you can find the link to that in the description of this episode and all other episodes for the most part. Unless the link doesn't work, then fucking go to the most recent one, eh? And then it's not social media. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, wait. There's another social media.
It's not social media at all. But another thing that I should remind you, the listener, of is if you enjoyed this episode, go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts, and leave a rating and review. That helps other people find the show. That makes it easier for us to draw in new listeners, and also just people who've maybe heard the show and they're like, I don't know, but then we get that one extra review that really sells the show to them, and they're like, okay, I'm actually in on this one.
Also, I genuinely just do enjoy reading the reviews because some of them can be very funny, and I enjoy that. If you think that you're a funny person, write a review. Try to make me laugh.
Nathan is notoriously difficult to laugh, so please bring your A game.
I never laugh. I'm an incredibly dour individual. That's why you chose me to host this.
Absolutely.
Is because I'm just this rude dude with a tude. And
it's I'm too giggly, and you're the antithesis of that. And so together we have this DM section that's just synthesis, right? And it's just the perfect amount of giggle.
Yeah, it's just both of us sounding sad at each other, really, for an hour.
But we cut that part. We cut that part, though. Don't worry. It's happy. And then we already mentioned it, but patreon.com/trialsandtrebs. That's what helped make this show almost a year ago, and that's what will help make other things if you want in the future. You can vote on.
Also, you get 100% uncut, uncensored DM notes.
You do. It's actually pretty fun.
I mean, I say uncensored. They are still censored.
Oh, because some stuff I'm slow, and so it still hasn't come up. I can't show my entire hand because then you know where it's going.
You prepped something a year ago that will not come up.
Yeah. But patreon.com/trialsandtrebs. It helps us pay for bills. It helps us do things, and it motivates us to motivate. That's a weird way of saying that we set stretch goals, and then when we hit them, we do things that we wanted to do anyways. But I hope you think about it. If you have the means to do so, it is appreciated. I think that's all the plugs.
Yeah. Wow. Kind of ended on a wet fart there, huh? With the plugs. I'm sorry, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking. That was really rude for no reason.
It's fucking funny.
Well, everyone, you can tell that we have recorded this right after the new year began. And
About
so we're
fresh
just phoning
energy.
this one in. Yeah.
Oh,
bye.
what? I was like, no, that means we did a great job. And Nathan, you said that doesn't mean a bad job? Oh,
wet fart?
no.
You think that a wet fart means a good job?
A wet fart is passionate and like it has a lot of oomph behind it, eh?
Nah, see, here's the thing. You want to have a ghost fart. You want to have a fart where it seems like it's been haunting the room for the past 2 years, but no one knows who died and left it there.
I think my closet has a ghost fart in it.
Hey, Luke, where are you recording?
I'm recording in a closet.
All right, have a nice week. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.